In this video, we're going to talk about designing simulations. So when an event cannot be carried out, we run a simulation to model the probability of the event occurring. So for instance, if we wanted to figure out who would win an election before we actually hold the election, we can't just create an election just so we can see the result. We would run a simulation or various simulations that use the same probabilities so that we can see when the event will occur, or the probability or likelihood the event will occur. So we can set up a simulation in multiple ways. We can use a coin whose outcomes are heads, tails, so an event that has a 50% probability, or 1 to 2, or 1/2. We could use a spinner. Now the spinner is interesting because we can use it for a number of events, because as long as the number of sections correlate or correspond to the number of either events or the probability of the event actually occurring. So if it was we wanted to predict who would win a race and there were 3 people running the race, we would have 3 sections of the spinner. And if each of them had the same probability, then each size of the section would be the same. We could use playing cards. Now, it's important to remember some things about playing cards if you're not familiar with them. There are 52 cards total, 4 suits, hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades. There are 2 colors, red and black, and there are 12 face cards. There are 3 in each suit, and 3 times 4, 12. A number cube. There are 6 sides to our number cube, so events that have a probability of 16.7% of occurring, alright, or a 1/6 chance of occurring. A random number table. Now a random number table, which we're going to use a lot with our simulations, we assign a number to an event or to a subject or person, and then we select these numbers from a table, and we'll look at an example of what that looks like. The same logic is used with a random number generator. However, instead of selecting numbers from the table that you're given, you're going to use the calculator to run a generator that pops up a random number. So let's look at an example of this. In a family of 5, what is the probability that 3 of the members are male? Alright, so let's think about the events that we have. We have being a male, being a female. So we have 2 events with a 50% probability. So to run a simulation, I could use a coin and we'll say, heads, male, tails, female. And then we would run our simulation 5 times. And this would be to represent the 5 members of the family. So in a spinner, we could have either we would have 2 sections, 1 male, 1 female, and then we would spin our spinner 5 times, each time representing the event of having a male or a female. In cards, we could use the 2 different colors, and we could say red, male, black, female, and then we can randomly draw 5 cards. A number cube, we could say the even numbers will be male, the odd numbers will be female, and we can roll 5 times. Now for the table, we could do it multiple. In most of these we can do multiple different ways. So what I'm doing is just the most common, but you could do it any way you wanted as long as you could justify and you had the correct probabilities. So for the table, we could also say even versus odd, or we could say 1 is male, 2 is female, and we can select or pick 5 numbers between 5 ones and 2s from the table. So let's actually look at an example of how we would use the table. So for a random number example, well, let's say we have these 6 students for 4 different positions. And what we're going to do is we're going to assign each student a number. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at the random digit table, which you will have examples of. Now, some problems will tell you to use this particular line, but just for this instance, let's look at starting with line 101 and just see how we would start selecting this. So if we look at, we have these 6 students, we would go from left to right and select 6, or for 4 positions, we would select 4 numbers. Now, the numbers have to be between 1 and 6 because we only have 6 students. So our first number as we're going is 1. Our second, 9, which we don't have a 9th student, so the next number 2, we do have a 2 student, so select 2, 3, and then 5. And so the people who would be going with us are numbers 1, Ashley, number 2, Adam, number 3, Jordan, and number 5, Anna. And so that's how we would use a random number table. Thanks for watching.